Hey everybody, welcome to the Fire It Up with CJ show. Today we're going to be learning about plants. Plants that speak and souls that sing. We're talking to Fay Johnstone, and we are talking about transforming your life with the spirit of plants. So welcome.
Oh, well, thank you. It's so great to be here. Any opportunity to talk about plants and get people excited about plants, I'm there. So it's lovely to be here.
So tell me a little bit about your own experience. How did you start tapping into the spirits of plants?
Well, I had always, well, not always, but the passion for plants kind of grew on me.
Hmm.
And before I knew it, I was running a herb and flower farm with my partner in Nova Scotia.
Wow.
And so my plant path started really with that interest in growing a garden and herbal medicines. I started studying herbal medicine quite formally at university. And I was interested in foraging and making, lotions and potions. And,
Mm.
my friends and family would always be getting some kind of, oil, and you kind of had that impression it would go to the back of the cupboard and it might not be used. But I was so enthused, and I've always loved, being in nature. So, but it wasn't until we followed our hearts and ended up in Nova Scotia running an organic herb and flower farm,
Mm.
and it was there in that amazingness of being out in rural Nova Scotia spending time with plants every day that the spirit of plants, it just somehow awakened something in me.
Mm.
And I began to really understand that lost language of nature, that we all have that capacity for knowing. And it was like the knowing opened in me.
Mm.
And I guess, as well, when you're really spending a lot of time out in nature, you are rolling with those seasons and cycles. And so you become that wildness within that we have, that innate this is the innate way that we are, our cyclical nature. It really, and for me it was this unfolding process like a
Mm.
dance, really.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I kind of really became so much more centered and aligned with who I really am.
Mm.
And so that's now, well, that's my path. That's where it's taken me. And so that's what I work towards now, is to really trying to help everybody connect in with nature wherever they are in the world, because it's so easy for people to say, well, you had a great time, you were off in rural Nova Scotia on the farm and playing with flowers every day, and what about me, I'm in the city, and how do I do that? And I think that is a really important point for us to address, because we
Right.
spend so much time, we're in urban environments, we're in front of the screen a lot of the time. We don't go outside as much, and this is really key for people. We've lost this connection with our natural landscape.
Mm.
Our ancestors, their lifestyles were tied much more closely to the land than ours are. Because we have all these brilliant modern conveniences which allow us, to have a different lifestyle. But unfortunately, for me, I really see that in the clients I meet, the depression or those feelings of separation that people have, and we're suffering from anxiety and stress. And we know, I think really we know deep down in our bones that something about being in nature, and I don't need science to tell me what that is.
Right.
My body knows
Mm-hmm.
that I feel there's something there in those whispers, in the whispers of the wind and the rustling of the trees and that in the colors of the flowers. My body is tuned into something, and I know I feel better in nature, and I know that's what I need, and that's what I'm just all about getting people to do in whatever way they're comfortable to do. So, for we can walk outside in nature, we can connect with a tree on the way to work,
Mm-hmm.
we can bring plants into our office space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, if you want to get adventurous, you can start making all sorts of lotions and potions and do shamanic plant ceremony. We have this, that's the amazing thing about plants. They can be beautiful additions to our landscapes, or, organic local food, or we can get.
So let's actually unpack a few different things. So I want to go back. I want to touch upon a couple different things that you talked about. So you talked about your initial experience in Nova Scotia with the herb and flower, and that was when you started experiencing some things that you weren't thought you would experience, and that's when you started gaining the connection. And then I want to talk about some of the ways that we can actually connect with plants in our daily lives, even if we don't live on a farm. So let's start with the Nova Scotia experience. So I had my own experience one day. It was Mother's Day, and I thought I want to plant an herb garden. And I went and we had to look at, I had a 2 hour window. I went out, I bought the plants, which took like 2 hours, and then I came and all the fixings for the plants. And I came home and then planted all the plants. And then I sat there with the soil in my hand on Mother's Day, just which I think is kind of a sacred day for Mother Earth. I'm planting the plants, and then I got up and it wasn't a head rush from head rush. It was like I'm not even sure what happened. I'm not sure if it was plant consciousness or having my fingers, and you actually talk about this in your book. You actually have an exercise where you dig your fingers in the earth, or if it was that, but I walked out and I was literally like intoxicated and almost dizzy vertigo for like 3 hours. So I want to hear about your experience and if you can make sense at all about that earth experience, because it did kind of mirror something that you talked about in the book.
Well, I think when we get into nature is like a portal. So for me, it takes me somewhere. It takes me somewhere else. I certainly ended up having experiences with plants, and sometimes out in nature, sometimes just in my house. They would appear to me in my dreaming, in my dream time. I would have plants appear to me in my dreams, and it's that experience that is, you do that double take. You're like, is this really happening? And but it's opening this other doorway, and it suddenly turns the lights on, and you with plants, and you're like, wow, there's something else to these green beings, or these trees outside my door, or these plants in the field, that it's more than just plants. I mean, I would find myself, one of the first clues for me was that I would sing. I just found myself out in the field, and I would suddenly find this spontaneous song coming out of my being, out of my body. And I'm not a singer. I'm definitely that part of me was really shut down when I was younger. I am not creative. I can't sing. So I was kind of that initial reaction was completely horrified of, oh my God, why am I singing? I can't sing. And actually, that the voice, it just allowing that voice and that whatever it was, that expression of beauty to move through me was a really, and I still do it now as a way of connecting with plants and as a way of being in this heart space, which is where I believe we really have this ability to communicate with the plants, is through the heart. And I would imagine for you, when you had your hands in Mother Earth, you were in that heart space. You went somewhere else. You were having a very grounding experience with the earth, and which enabled you to kind of open a doorway inside of you. It's the only way I would describe that, as and that for me is what nature is able to do, is open those places of us that we have, for whatever reason, moved away from, or become disconnected from, or let ourselves kind of close down for a bit because, hey, I got busy over here with my job and I forgot I needed to look at that part of me. And so it's a way for us to really get back to that place of wholeness. And it sounds to me like your experience, it really took you out of this reality into another dimension, really.
It did. I was gone for like 3 hours. I'm like, I have no idea what I was going to a soccer game, and I was getting super dizzy. I couldn't even focus on the soccer game because I was just like, I'm so dizzy right now. I don't even know where I am. And it was scary, but also interesting because I thought, what was I doing? How did this even happen? But it sounds like you've had experiences like that where the plants have been a portal. And I want to go back to something you said about dreaming. So how would a plant show up in your dreams?
In many different ways. So for me, what happens to me is I was very frequently woken up in the night, or
Mm,
in that lovely phase that you have between kind of sleeping and dreaming, when
hmm.
you're kind of in the falling asleep or half waking up phase. And always for me, it's usually I just have a sense that there's something in the room, and like somebody might sense, if they are very psychic or something, they might sense a presence. I have this ability to sense the plants, and I think, gosh,
Wow.
that's weird. It kind of feels like there's a raspberry plant, and
Wow.
I ask a question: Are you raspberry? Out there, and then I'm feeling for the answer. And if and in this instance, I'm thinking of it, the response was a positive, and I'm like, wow, okay, raspberry. And so in this instance, I'm not receiving a voice, downloading information into my head. I'm feeling in my being, in my body, for a response.
Wow. So
And
is it
it's,
is it kind of a felt like how
well,
do you feel raspberry?
sorry,
How so is
I
it a
missed that. It went quite.
yeah, what you said it wasn't necessarily a word, but it was kind of a felt expression of raspberry. So and you said you felt it in your body. And can you help me kind of explain? And I know these things are hard to articulate, but do you remember what it was or what it felt like to feel
Well, I
raspberry?
think the way I would explain it is I think I'm very used to, since I've been a little child, I've been in the presence of raspberry plants, raspberry canes, from
Mm,
when my father used to grow them and I was a little girl picking raspberry. And then we had a large plot of field that we had sown of raspberry cane. So I'd spent a lot of time with these raspberry plants over the course of my life, in
mm,
total. And so, just like when we have a friend who we're so used to hanging out with, we're kind of attuned to that vibration of that person. And
mm,
we've all had that feeling where you're meeting a friend in a cafe, and suddenly you kind of look up because you kind of have that sense that they're already there. And you look up and you're like, oh, there you are. I had that feeling, and you don't, there's something that you can't explain, but you just have this feeling that that person is there, or that there's somebody looking. We've had that experience before where you feel like there's someone looking at you, and sure enough, you look up and there'll be somebody looking at you. And it's kind of that being, it's that sort of touching your energy field. And so for
mm,
me, I feel that I was so accustomed to knowing kind of that vibration of the raspberry plant, the
mm.
energy that that plant carries, so that it wasn't really a surprise for me when I'm waking up in the night and I'm like, oh, I mean, it was a surprise. I was kind of, that's weird. Hello, what are you doing here? But it really was it was the familiarity with that vibration of that plant. And most people would have it with people and friends and work
Right.
colleagues who you're spending a lot of time with. And then, in this instance, I was just spending a lot of time, or I had over my life, with my plants, and raspberry is one that I know well. So I just had that feeling that it was the
Hmm.
raspberry.
Wow. So, how would you describe what plant consciousness is? So, and you talked about in your book, in your book that you talked about, you do shamanic practices, and I know that there are a lot, and I've also studied a little bit about shamanism and know that you go and you talk to the spirit of an animal. So people are familiar with spirit animals. That's for some reason that's now in the common vernacular about spirit animals. So people know about spirit animals, but is there also I think you called it a plant
An
type of
ally,
a
a
plant
plant ally.
ally. Okay, so is that the corollary to a spirit animal? Is a plant ally does one? And here's what I know, and I don't know a ton, but in the classes that I've taken, they've talked about that you have like a spirit animal that comes to you that's kind of like your animal. And then there's also spirit animals that come to you during certain times of your life to be supportive and provide guidance from that archetype of that spirit animal. Do plants work the same way? Is there a plant ally and then plants that come in your life throughout lives to kind of offer a certain consciousness and support?
Yeah, I think you've summarized that really well, CJ. Yeah, in my experience, it depends. what I'm going through in my life. There, I have got my kind of key plant allies, if you like. And I always to describe them, I would say to people, think spirit guide, think trusted friend, think that's what, and these plant allies appear to us when we need, they will come forward and make themselves known to us when we need them. And there are certain, you like teacher plants, the very, very powerful plants, and they often are the gateways. They will open gateways to many of these other plants. And by teacher plants, I'm talking about the ones which people tend to think of when we think of plant spirit medicine and plant spirits and plant spirit healing. Many people kind of jump into that whole, oh, you mean going to the Amazon and sitting with a
Shamanic,
curandero, the
ayahuasca, or things, marijuana,
peyote, all of these. And those plants are super powerful. Everyone's heard stories of the visionary experience that you can have with these plants. But what I talk about really is those plants which are local to you, that are on your doorstep, the simple dandelion, the strong oak tree that might be there for you on your way to work when you're having a really bad day. That's your plant ally. That's your trusted friend. Because that plant can teach you so much because it's in your local vicinity. And then, so this is, so yes, plant ally is all the things you've kind of summarized there with, making that parallel with the animal, the spirit animal. And of course, we're all individuals, so we're going to have our own unique individual filter of through life and how we experience our guides and how they communicate with us and how we connect with them. And the great, what I love particularly about plants is that they are so versatile because we can go and physically spend time with them. We can take amazing, inspiring photos of them and have imagery decorating our homes. And then we've got, we can wear them we can have them decorating our homes. We can wear them as pendants. We can make this wide variety of amazing medicines and fun things so that the plant can be with us in our space, as well as in our thoughts and prayers. And so they're really versatile. Whereas, and I mean, that's, animal medicine is also, but so there's something really magical about the kind of really holistic way that we can incorporate plants into our lives.
So I know in shamanic, for your spirit animal, there's actually a practice that you take and you actually go through the drumming and you go down or up, and then you use those vehicles. So like you find some place in nature that you would naturally can go down. So like a stream that would go down, or a hole in the ground, or a cave, or if you wanted to go up, you would go up a tree or a rainbow or whatever, and imagine that you can actually be taken to these different realms, which are called the upper and lower realm. And then for spirit animals, like you ask for your spirit animal to appear, is it the same with a plant ally that you would have them? Is it a similar practice, or would you find your plant ally?
Well, the best way, my favorite way, because what you're talking about, you're kind of talking about immediately going into the whole shamanic plant spirit domain, which is so exciting and amazing. But, let's just take a few steps back, because number one, the best way to connect with plants is to get outside in the natural environment where you are. Okay, so taking an intuitive nature walk, thinking about one thing that's on your mind that you could really do with some help with. That might be a health issue. It might be a decision that you need to make. It might be just something that you've got going on and it's bothering you. We all have these little niggles. So we all carry this kind of stuff in our hearts. And sometimes taking that walk in nature, a walk that you know very well, so your body kind of goes there automatically. So you can really being present to the nature that's there, not being on your phone, being in your heart, thinking wow, I would really love to connect with a plant today. Kind of having a prayer in your heart to connect with a plant, Ali, to meet a plant that's going to help you, because
Mm.
they're there and they're there waiting for you. And so for me, it's a case of when we're in this stage, is we're feeling our way with our hearts. We're not thinking, oh, I know, well, Oaks, that tree over there is pretty strong. I'm going to go and hang out with that. I'm feeling a bit wobbly today. No, 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 no. We're feeling our way with our hearts.
Mm.
We're acknowledging how we're feeling. So we could be going, oh, God, I'm having a tough day. I've got to make this decision. I don't know what to do. All the stuff that's going on in our heart. And we're feeling, God, we're kind of asking, we're tuning into the universe. We're tuning into nature. Could really do with some help right now. And I'd just love to connect with the plant. It's this intention, it's this loving space of, wow, could this happen for me today? But also it's to kind of create this frequency, because what we want is we want the plants to be kind of leaping up to choose us. And this is what they do. We don't go and choose them. They will choose us. It's lovely to get to be chosen. But tuning into the plants, we've got to kind of get on their frequency. And it's really in this heart space that we do that.
Mm.
So we're going to be actually appreciating nature. We're going to be walking along going, wow, isn't that flower beautiful? Oh, this tree feels so good. And this is why it feels so good.
Oh, sorry, you're cutting out a little bit. So you were talking about going into nature, and both of us have actually went to nature, and we pulled different things. And so I was going to describe mine. Hopefully, you can describe yours. And what I'd love for you to do in your book, you have a checklist or a series of questions and tons and tons of meditation. So I have a question in mind, which is I am thinking about right now at this moment. I'm trying to figure out if I'm over involving myself with my kids and how to gracefully withdraw, because the answer is yes, I have over involved myself and now I want to gracefully unwind everything, and I want this plant to help me. So I went to the flower shop because I was thinking about your beautiful flower farm and herb farm in Nova Scotia. And this is what I was drawn to. So in here are yellow mums, I think, purple and yellow and white, and iris that has the colors purple, yellow, and white. A kind of a different kind of burgundy, purple, and yellow, smaller mom, and stock, which I don't even know what stock is, but you said you know what this is. So this is what I was drawn to, and then there's this little spiky thing. I don't know what this little spiky
That's
thing.
beautiful. That's a sea holly. It's a
Sea holly.
Euringium. Yeah,
Okay,
beautiful.
so I have that. So this is mine, and show folks what you have in your vicinity.
Well, this was a beautiful find, and it just shows that when you're a kind of a plant person, you go hunting for these things. I was in a local market today where I'm staying, and I'm actually staying on the island of Mallorca in Spain at the moment. So this is completely new to me. And what I found is a lady who was selling dried herbs, and this is a bundle of herbs that they would you can burn them, and the scent of this is truly magnificent, and it smells just like the landscape that I have next to me. And it's a bundle of about 6 different herbs that have all been dried and tied into a stick, and it smells incredible. I've got lavender, pine, rosemary, St. John's wort, and a couple of others in there, and they're really, that for me is this is the spirit actually of Mallorca that I feel I've actually got in this bundle. And
Wow.
this is why it's really exciting to work with plants, because I'm now going to take this home with me, and the spirit of these plants is going to come back with me to Scotland. So, and that's a beautiful kind of way to evoke this land of where I am, and we can do this with our plants. We
Okay.
can
So
take
we'll
them
do
with
this.
us.
What I was wondering, and I want to just point out one thing quickly, and then let's actually have you step us through an exercise, if you wouldn't mind, to just show how you can actually tap into plants to help you. So your bundle reminded me of this. So I had talked to someone previously about plant essence, and so this is a Chakra 5 plant spray. And so in here are the essences of lavender, frankincense, and blue chamomile. You probably know the smells. I don't even know which ones are which.
Mhm.
And then chakra 4 is pine, rosewood, and neroli. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct. It's neroli. And
Mhm.
so she had said that every single plant has a vibrational frequency, and it's based on the color, the shape, where the plant was grown. And so if I was, let's say, having an issue with my heart, or I wanted to open my heart, I would look at and that corresponds to chakra 4, and I would then take this pine, rosewood, neroli, and then, spray it on my heart. Or I have a rosewood bracelet, or I'd spray it. I'm probably going to stink like just sprayed myself in the eye. Spray it on my bracelet, hopefully not in my eye. So these are different ways. When you were talking about beautiful ways of walking like you did in the market, or how I walked outside, and there's I walk every day outside because I have to for my own mental sanity, or I have a lemon in my drink, or house plants, or a picture of flowers. There's so many different ways. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that you have to be like, you may actually live in an urban jungle, but you can still have access. I mean, now I have this phenomenal smell surrounding me.
Mm.
Okay, so help step me through. So you have your plant, I have my plant, and you have many choices to choose from. So you can, when we're on the show, you can actually, hopefully, one of these things you're drawn to, and if not, go find your own plant, and and Faye will step you through this, and you can step through this exercise. So hit pause on the video or on the radio, and then grab a plant that you feel pulled towards. But here are the ones that we have. So step me through what I would do with this.
Well, I'm interested. You see, so you were drawn to that, and I'd love. What's your favorite part? Show me. Think about what your favorite part is about the plant or the selection that you're looking at.
Well, my favorite part is the irises. This is the thing I picked first. Because my dad's favorite, my dad who's passed, this was his favorite plant. And so this was also at our wedding in the bouquets, because it was a kind of a remembrance from my father. So this has kind of a emotional significance for my heart.
Absolutely, yeah. But that's interesting, isn't it? Because your kind of your issue that you're asking for is to do with your family too. So you've got that kind of this
connection.
The connection is there, so that's already very interesting. And what about? So you like that part best? What about? And how does it make you feel when you hold that in your hand? The whole thing.
So the first question was, what drew you to that plant? That would be the one when people were sitting at home and they're wondering, what drew you to that plant? For me, it was this flower. Let's see. So how does it feel with this plant in my hand? So I'm putting the bouquet in my, and so how would I feel it? You talked about doing a body scan. Is that what you'd recommend, to feel what it feels like, or feel it from my heart?
But the first thing I love to do is that the initial, how do you touch me? And really, this can be like 2 words. It can be 1 word. It can be a jolt of emotion. It can be a sound wave, And that would be my first question. How do you touch me? Asking, and that is actually dropping into the heart. How do you touch me?
All right. So there's when I look at this flower, it's just a unique flower. I mean, not a lot of flowers. If you look at the iris, it has it has kind of a uniqueness to it that you don't really see in flowers. The curls of the leaves, if you look at this iris leaf, it has like these little rigid edges, and it kind of opens in this beautiful kind of feminine way, I think. And so I love it's just a unique flower. I don't think I've seen a lot of flowers kind of like this, for me. You probably are like, oh yeah, I can spout out 20 flowers that look like this. But for me, this feels unique. And then when I chose this palette, I thought, I don't know why, because there were pinks. So what I liked about the color, the bouquet that I picked, is that yellow and purple are complementary. And so for me, they're on the color palette as an artist.
Mm,
And it just feels like it's in harmony and balance. So harmony,
mm.
balance, and uniqueness. Those are the words.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Harmony, balance, and uniqueness. Wow, that's lovely. And then and so now let's look at, so that's kind of our initial. And then what you would want to do is really, what I love to do is to really, when I'm spending time with a plant, is to really open up the five senses. And so yeah, we always jump ahead and we want to tune in to our intuition, but we've got these amazing senses. So let's use the five physical senses here. And plants are amazing in terms of, we can, if it feels right between you and the plant, you can be touching. And obviously you can spend, what we tend to do is we tend to kind of think we know a plant. And this can be the
Mm.
case if we know an iris, for example, very well, or the mums that you have there. And what we can do is our ego will kind of overlook, oh yeah, that yellow one. So my invitation for you when you're meeting a plant is to forget what you think you know and really open those eyes
Okay.
to really opening all the physical senses and
Okay.
seeing where you go with that.
Okay. So I'm going to pretend I'm an alien. I'm an alien and I've just arrived at this planet and someone's like, waha! I'm like, what is this? Okay. In terms of the visual aspects, if you look at the visual aspects, there's so many different shapes in here. It's just super visually compelling because there's like this one has all these like the stock, which when I heard stock, I'm like, what's this? She's like, stock. I'm like, okay, that's like a stock photo. It doesn't mean anything. That's what, sorry, but this is how my mind works. All right, but when I look at this, it's like really sweet. There are these little itty bitty there's these little itty bitty buds in here and these purple flowers that are yet to blossom, which I always love these little flowers that are yet to blossom and those that are blossoming. So I'm noticing this that I didn't notice before. It's just like noise. And like this is fabulous. Like mums, which are kind of like just, they seem to me to be like all over the place in the fall. They're almost like the dandelion of houseplants in Seattle, but they're beautiful. If I didn't know this was something that's so common, this is a gigantic bright yellow mum, and it's spectacular. Look at how it's like bursting open like a firework. So I'm noticing some details that I wouldn't have noticed. To me, like the iris steals the show because it has all these intriguing details. It's like the exotic person that you see walking into a coffee shop, your eyes just fixate. But there's all these other beautiful little details. It's the shapes and the colors and in terms of the smell, you were asking me, what does it smell like? And this fragrance of the stock, which was my sense of the garbage flower. Sorry, honey.
It's outstanding. It's outstanding.
It's
It's one of my favorite
beautiful.
flowers
Oh my
today. Yeah.
God. It smells amazing. It's like when you walk into a flower shop, which to me is associated with just like whenever I go into a flower shop, it's celebrating something. So it kind of has this celebratory, grounded, like I feel like I'm an earth mama just smelling this. So I love the smell. And then there's this like little prickly one, which I didn't even see until later. Like, what is this one called? I'm focusing.
That was the sea holly, wasn't it? The Euringium.
Yeah.
And that is, that's not dyed. That's its real color, that
Wow.
blue. I mean,
Yeah.
they are so unique. They're kind of like a thistle, but then they're not a thistle. Yeah, they're beautiful. They're kind of soft and spiky, but
Yeah.
very dramatic.
Yeah. It's
Nothing.
like a sea
Yeah.
anemone in a flower. And it's
Mm.
these ones kind of scare me, to be honest. I'm like, oh, it's prickly and it's oh. But it adds to the visual interest. But I'm touching it and it feels like a little cactusy on the side. So that's the kinesthetic. It feels like these are just luscious. These mum petals are just very soft and like it's like running your hand through really soft hair or something.
Mm.
And these other ones, these petals on the iris are very soft, and the of course all these little green leaves are kind of pokey. So, yeah, so that's what I'm noticing. Is that what you wanted me to do?
I think you've done brilliantly.
Okay.
You've actually really demonstrated that we so often overlook details of plants. And
Mm-hmm.
there was you picking the stalks that you didn't even know what they were, and you didn't even know how fragrant they were
Yeah.
until you actually, spent some time with them and
Mm-hmm.
thinking, oh wow, actually that's a pretty amazing flower.
Yeah.
So I mean, so this is class. This is kind of what we do all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think in a sense, even though you chose that bouquet, it's managing to surprise you
Yeah.
and even though actually you chose it all, so you should know what you were getting, it's still managing that they very subtly reveal themselves to us,
Mm-hmm.
their beautiful magic. The thing that you would do, I mean, obviously, I love to, it's lovely to engage our sense of taste as well, but I would not recommend anybody taste anything
Okay.
that they cannot identify. You have to be able to identify it as a plant that you can eat. And if you
Right.
can't identify it as a plant that you can eat, do not put that plant anywhere near your mouth,
Right.
But that can be a lovely experience, if we know, for example, we're in the garden and we have some mint or some chamomile, that we were chatting about earlier. So that can be a lovely experience as well to sit with a herbal infusion
Mm-hmm.
and invite the spirit of the plant into your body and connect with the plant in that way. So these
Mm.
plants, these flowers are now going to be displayed in your home. And
Right.
I was just wondering, where are you going to display them?
Well, it's in. I was actually going to give them to my husband because he is finishing writing a book proposal, and it was kind of a celebratory. And then also, when I'm in the kitchen, I look out towards his study and my son. They're the two people I love most in my life, looking out, and I just see these beautiful flowers. So that's where this is going to go, and the reason for buying them. And I actually buy him flowers pretty often, like every couple weeks. So,
Oh, that's beautiful. And that's a lovely exercise that you can do is if you're thinking of a friend, or particularly if you know a friend's having a hard time or they're struggling with something, is thinking of them as you're going into the flower shop with them in mind and choosing flowers to, kind of holding that prayer in your heart, thinking about your loved ones, thinking, that you're buying flowers for them. That's your intention, and the plants and spirits able to read your heart. It's not reading the stuff going on in your head. It's reading the beauty and the love that's coming from your heart.
mm-hmm.
And as you light up and see certain flowers, that's the connection that you want. You want to give them to your husband so that he lights up and then you can see them through the window. And, you're just spreading this vibration of joy
Mm-hmm.
throughout. And because flowers are so bright and so fragrant, they appeal to us on so many different levels.
Yes.
And so really what we're doing is we're connecting with our hearts and we're putting these flowers in our hearts.
That's
When
pretty.
they're in our hearts and we're loving them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's if it's particularly if you grow a garden or have flowers and trees and or vegetables in your garden, that act of kind of putting the plant in your heart, that act of honoring and admiration and appreciation, that will be felt. That vibration of gratitude and respect is a vibration that will be felt by the plants in the vibration that they're on, and they will respond. We've all heard the stories that have been going on for millennia, the gardeners talking to their plants and blooming vegetables and flowers and so forth. So this is what we're doing, and we're connecting with our hearts, and it's really this
Mm.
kind of loving connection,
Mm.
loving our gardens, watching them grow, just like we watch our children grow.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I now take this and answer the question that I had? How would this help me with
Well,
my
that's
life?
interesting though, because in a sense, you bought those flowers for your husband, but yet you had a kind of question on your mind. So my sense is that your question, I think you might want to walk out in nature with your question, because those flowers, even though they're speaking to you and
Right.
you're feeling that loving, because you said that you're buying them for your husband, I my sense is that you might have had him on your mind when you were buying them.
No, I wasn't. I didn't. But I sort of. But here's what I will say about this whole. So, what I've been recognizing recently with my own consciousness is that I spend too much time thinking about others and not enough about myself. So this is a demonstration of that.
Absolutely.
So, so that's what this taught me. That's one lesson I can actually take away from this because
Mhm.
I was thinking, okay, I want to get flowers because I was thinking about you and that you're a plant, and then I was thinking, well, I'd like to get my husband flowers because he's going to be coming, finishing his book proposal, and I versus just buying these flowers for myself and saying they're
Mm.
beautiful and they're meaningful to me. Why am I worrying about him? Why not
Mm.
just worry? Not, I mean, I don't even have to worry. Why not just celebrate these flowers for no particular reason aside from I like to look at them when they're in his window?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the interdependence of myself and other people, right? When he's happy, it makes me happy, but how can I just be happy on my own? So that's one thing I'm taking away from my flowers. How else would you use this plant?
Oh, that's beautiful. And I think though it's interesting, so many growers that I know, and we don't have it in our mentality that flowers are important. They're not really on our grocery list as something I need to buy for me, are they? They're even though flowers are for me, they do the most important job of all. They bring us joy.
Mm,
But we don't have that on our list of, oh, what do I need to buy this week? Oh, something that's going to bring some joy and some beautiful aroma and color into my home. Oh, no, not important. So
yeah, yeah,
it really saddens me because
yeah,
actually, if flowers do one thing, they bring us joy, and it's delightful to give somebody flowers. It's delightful to buy yourself flowers. That act of self-love, I'm worth it, I need cheering up, but and we can buy flowers quite inexpensively sometimes. So it's interesting, isn't it? It
yeah,
saddens me, but that's just how our priorities have gone a little bit, they've gone a little bit wonky, haven't they? We
yeah,
might prefer to go and buy our coffee every morning, or whatever it is we think we need. Um, though I know most people do need their coffee in the morning, so I wouldn't say that we don't need that. But we don't tend to prioritize that sort of that simple thing of bringing joy. And so I know lots of vegetable growers and herb growers, for example, and they have actually said, they don't grow flowers because they don't think they're useful. And I understand where they're coming from, because you can't necessarily, well, you can eat, there are many edible flowers, but they're not, that nutritious that the vegetable might be, and they're not maybe a herbal remedy that the herbal remedy might be. But yes, they have a very unique frequency, which is joy,
yeah,
for us, and many other ways that they affect our emotions. And that's
yeah,
when you can get into the wonderful world of flower essences, which is another conversation entirely. So.
yeah. So tell me about yours. Like, tell me a little bit about your plant and what. Now, you'll probably get to this faster, but tell me what you're taking away from your plant. Like, what was on your mind and how the plant speaks to you.
Well, this is symbolizing. So this is the lovely bundle of herbs which I picked up today, and actually, it's really because it's so aromatic.
Mm-hmm.
It has this. So that really speaks to me instantly. It kind of connects with all of my senses
Mm,
and my kind of higher senses
mm,
somehow.
mm-hmm.
And some of my favorite plants are in here, like lavender, rosemary, and pine. And so this for me, and I've got bay in here, and it's so actually this is almost a memory of
Mm,
the landscape, and this is where I was kind of talking before about I really do feel that in my body. So I know that
mm,
when I take this home to Scotland and I breathe kind of, when I breathe this in, and I don't even know what it will be like if I start to burn it and bring the spirit of the plants into the home in that way. But I know that that's going to send me, it's going to send my being, my body back here to walking here in the fields in the
Beautiful.
landscape where I've been. And it's
Mm,
that evoking that memory. So that for me it's a sort of remembrance. It's
mm,
remembering. And yeah, so and sort of being conscious of our feelings with plants. So so this is memories of joy, really,
mm.
memories of feeling very held and supported by this landscape is what this carries in for me. And so I feel that in my heart, but yeah, I also feel it in my body. It's carried with me, and that's
Mm,
actually a really grounding feeling. So grounded as well is
mm.
how do you touch me? Very,
Right.
very grounded and held. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, and I
Beautiful.
think those pointers, that kind of phrase, "How do you touch me?" as a takeaway can be a very that can really help remind us,
Right.
exactly
So for
what.
you it was grounded, and for me, this just feels like happy joy, just
Yeah,
joy and celebration. And so it's joy and celebration of like different points of our life. So my husband is like on the verge of getting hopefully a book proposal, and he's been working for 6 months. My
wow.
son, the one that I'm stressed out about, both of them are getting jobs, for the first. So it's like these big transitional moments, and this is joyous and celebratory. So, and if that's the operative word, then it's how can I view this experience with joy and celebration versus, oh no, will I get a summer job? Which is my helicoptering mom is like, and it's like, wait a second. There's joy and celebration to a huge transitional moment in both of my child and my husband's life. So, how can I be this, versus if there was a worry wart plant, that would be what I would want to show normally. So, so the other thing that's so amazing is this smell is just intoxicating. The one that I put on before, it is the idea of wearing essence is just a beautiful thing because it's just there was this thing that I bought on Amazon. I'm waiting for big shipment before I ship it because I don't like to use all the boxes. So I have a shipment, and it's like a stone that you spray. Maybe you've heard of this, but it's a stone that you spray essences on, and it just like holds the essence. Do you know what that may be?
Well, I know what you mean. I've seen jewelry that they kind of make it and you can have it in a pendant. And I
Yeah.
think that might be a similar thing. And having these essences with us, I mean, they are the essential. Are you talking about, well, essential oils, for example,
Yes.
and I think what we're talking about here. I mean, the concentration of
Yeah.
plants that are in the essential oils is so intense.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think, and actually, they're quite controversial, really, essential oils, in the sense that you are using so much plant material to produce a single drop of oil.
Yeah.
So it just really goes down to using them with respect and making you make your purchases from respectable companies who are sourcing the plant material and so forth in that respectful way. And this is again where we've kind of got this divide between us and plants because we've kind of gone off track a little bit, and we've gone into this whole way of using nature as a resource, and we're kind of abusing our natural environment. Whereas if we look at some indigenous cultures, for example, their lifestyles are very entwined with the natural world, and they have a lot of respect for Mother Earth, and they will be, honoring Mother Earth with ceremony and ritual and prayer and offerings. but we don't do that so much.
Oh yeah, like we get a diffuser and we're like, I like that lavender, like or whatever it is.
Yeah, give me some more.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So versus going, thank you, lavender. This is a beautiful plant. Thank you for being here and supporting my evening journey towards rest and relaxation or something. I like that. That's beautiful.
That's super beautiful. You have
Yeah.
totally nailed it, because that's exactly the way I encourage people to be with plants. And even, if I have my special herbal bundle here and I burn that, I'm inviting these plants. Thank you so much. That's what we're
Mm.
doing when we're uh, uh, putting the diffuser on, or we're lighting our incense stick, or whatever we're doing. We're saying thank you,
Mm.
because that prayer is heard and felt. And again, that's really increasing. It's increasing the vibration and the resonance
Right. That plant's
of
like, well, you're welcome. Ba-boom. They're all of a sudden to support
I'm
you because you're
here.
appreciated.
Yeah.
Totally understand that. All right. So we've been talking to Fay Johnstone, and here her website is Fay Johnstone. Is that right? Joh Johnston, but then with an E, Johnstone. And tell me how, is that the primary way that folks that want to learn more about the book would find you?
Yes, certainly. FayJohnston.com. Absolutely. It's all there. And actually on the website there is a free audio chapter of the book. If you want to listen
Oh,
to
good.
a free audio chapter of the book, you can go ahead and get that on the website. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Fay.
Thank you. It's been fun.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show, or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.